And I know this is an Epicor podcast, but I just want to say to all the customers of Epicor that are watching, or if you're watching this and you're not an Epicor customer, shame on you. But if you're using some other ERP or whatever, you need to have patience, because companies like Epicor are going to be rolling this stuff out, and it needs to be trained and get better, and it's going to take a little bit of time. But in the meantime, we as business people need to be preparing for this stuff.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for listening. I'm your host, Kerrie Jordan. I'm sitting here with Gene Marks. We're at Epicor's Insights 2025 in Las Vegas, and we just had a great conversation on stage.
Super fun.
And then now we want to continue it and speak with you all. So I guess we should just go ahead and get started. So would you tell us a bit about yourself?
Yeah, before I do, I have to say, when I came off the stage, Deion Sanders was coming on the stage, and I stopped him and I asked if he was also going to be talking about tariffs and supply chain as a joke. I did not crack a smile. And I said to him, like, I just want to make sure we don't have anything overlapping here, and anyway.
Yeah.
So, okay.
Good to check.
It was, I thought it was funny. Apparently he did not. So, thank you for having me on. So, I am a certified public accountant. I run a company outside of Philadelphia. For a number of years, I've been writing. So I wrote for the New York Times for 7 years. I wrote for the Washington Post for 7 years. Now I write every week for The Guardian, The Hill, the Philly Inquirer, the Washington Times, Chicago Daily Herald, Forbes, and Entrepreneur magazines. It's a lot of writing. And I cover small and mid-sized businesses. That's my thing. And depending on where I'm writing, different workplace issues, manufacturing, public policy, supply chain issues. It just depends on where I am. Forbes, I write like 6 to 8 times a month, and it's all tech, AI. So a lot of stuff that I cover is what I'm all about. And then I do a lot of speaking about this stuff as well.
How did you get into this field?
So I was running my business. I have 10 employees. I was driving home angry every day and hating all of my clients in the world. And I said, I need like an outlet, and I wanted to write about it. And like everything in life, Kerrie, is luck, is luck and timing. And I pitched an editor at the Philadelphia Business Journal. Can I write a column called the Penny Pincher's Almanac, just rants about saving money and all that kind of stuff. Nice. And he said, sure. And that got me into it. And then I got popular, and then I was asked to write different places, and it just kind of went from there. So it's fun, and it's super therapeutic. And I recommend to anybody to find some outlet outside of their work to actually do something different, so they can kind of switch things up. It's worked a lot.
Can you somehow make tariffs therapeutic?
Yeah, it's a hard thing to do. It really is. Well, that's the other thing that's fun. And I know we're going to talk about all this stuff, but I was talking a lot about tariffs in 2018.
The steel tariffs.
Yeah, and all of the Trump tariffs as well during that first administration. Yeah. And then stopped talking about and now here we are back again. And that seems to be a lot of what I do. When I go out and I speak to associations, manufacturers, distributors, it's all, I'm talking about all the things I'm writing about. And the presentation changes every year because different issues, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm, absolutely. So what's happening lately?
So, tariffs are a big issue that I'm writing about, and obviously supply chain, but that is a big news. Taxes is a big thing. I'm not sure when this will air or post, but we're having this conversation now in the beginning of May, and we're about to enter into tax Armageddon, right? So, and I know that may or may not interest everybody watching, but I can tell you that if you're running a business, it's a big deal. There's a lot of changes about to happen. So I'm covering that. Tech is huge. So I'm writing a lot about AI and companies like Epicor who are rolling out AI stuff. So I'm doing that. And I'm writing about a lot of workplace issues as well. And The Guardian likes that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? Like barely minimum Monday kind of things. So.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for being here. All of these topics are on the top of minds for a lot of people around here. And so everybody wanted to learn. And we had a great conversation earlier, and it was all about tariffs and supply chain disruptions. And you had shared some really great insights about tariffs. Could you talk to us about what's happening lately in the world around tariffs?
Sure. Where we are right now, and again, this is the beginning of May, and it's really, really tough to talk about tariffs in the sense that this could change by the time we finish this conversation.
Absolutely right.
Yeah, just so we know. Yep. It seems like it's changing every second. But where we are right now is there are some tariffs that are in effect, and there are a lot of tariffs that have just been paused, right? So The tariffs that have been paused, the Trump administration, they issued these reciprocal tariffs on 90 countries of all sorts of different tariff rates. And you don't even want to know how they calculated it because it's wild. But okay, so they have a whole bunch of different tariffs. When they did that, all the countries were screaming and yelling, the stock market tanked and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So the Trump administration paused them for 90 days. So they're going to come back in July. And meanwhile, they're negotiating with a lot of these countries. So those are all paused right now. And the big guns, Japan, Mexico, Canada, all of those things are paused right now, right? So that's what's on the pause side. Then there's what's in actually effect. So there's a 10% tariff on all goods coming into the U.S. That is right now in effect.
Okay.
So we can expect to have that. In addition to that, there's a 25% tariff on steel and aluminum. There is another 25% tariff on cars and automobiles and car parts, although that's been discounted a bit. He's changed that a little bit over the past week or so. So we have all of those that are in effect. And then there were the Biden tariffs from last year, which are all still in effect, mostly on China. And then there's China, right?
Yeah.
So while those ones I just mentioned are still in effect, all the other ones are paused. The big story is China.
Okay.
I feel very strongly, and I said this morning in our session, that I think these tariff negotiations will be resolved in the next few months. First of all, this conversation is about where do we stand with tariffs? What is going on? It's no comfort to a lot of my clients and my readers because they're trying to figure out what to do, when to buy, what to buy. And it's just uncertain until this gets resolved, you know? But okay, so we have to kind of deal with that. I also predict that a lot of these, you're going to take this episode down when I'm wrong about all this. But anyway, I do predict that all of these tariffs themselves, I think many of them are going to be negotiated favorably to the U.S. And I think that's a potentially good thing. China, that was another story. And the warning that I'm giving to my readers, my community, my clients is that if you're doing business with China, you've got some serious challenges. There is a 145% tariff in effect right now. That did not get paused. And then the Biden tariff. So in some cases, it's over 185%. So even if these get cut in half, it's still crazy high, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm also telling people that when I was writing and talking about this in 2018, Trump was all after China back then. And he had a whole list of grievances besides the tariffs.
Yeah.
China has rules about transferring technology over to them that he wanted to stop. They have rules that if an American company wants to do business in China, China's got to own 20% of that company. He wants that to stop. He's not happy, like many people, about stealing of data and technology, So he had a lot of restrictions that he wanted to put into place that got dealt with in addition to the tariffs back in 2018. That kind of fell off the truck. COVID hit and he was gone. Now he's back and I'm expecting those to come back.
Okay.
So I'm telling my community. So I think we have a ways to go before anything gets resolved with China.
Yeah.
And I think that for my clients that are dealing with that, they have a lot to deal with. I have a lot of clients that, Kerrie, they saw this coming. I mean, he's been talking about this for years. And when he got elected in November, I can name off the top of my head half a dozen companies that I personally know that immediately pivoted. They had alternate suppliers lined up in Taiwan, India, whatever, and they made those moves. Mm-hmm. But I'm reading stories now about a lot of businesses, small businesses particularly, that are caught, because of the Chinese tariffs. And I definitely empathize and sympathize with them. But at the same time, I'm I don't know, this should not have been that big a surprise, particularly if your business is relying on them. So
yeah.
I'm hoping that a lot of people watching this have made those alternative plans because it's going to be a while.
So let's talk about those alternative plans, because this has caused, higher costs, more complexity, different, these kinds of challenges.
Yeah.
What are some things that organizations can do now, if they haven't already, to start addressing these challenges?
So there's macro and there's microeconomic things. I have specific things to suggest. Okay. And it's not just reevaluate your supply chain, kind of things. It's more tactical.
Great.
And I will say, and again, for those of you who are watching or listening, that this is not me talking. This is just what I'm learning from my clients and what I've been writing about. So like, Kerrie, I am your vessel right now. Let me just share with you what I'm seeing out in the world.
Yes, great.
So number one is this. I have a bunch of clients and companies that are using bonded warehouses or warehouses in free trade zones. So you can Google bonded warehouses or free trade zone warehouses. There are like dozens and dozens of them around the country, many, and out of the country as well. But just in the US alone, there are many. If you buy any goods, say from China, and they come into a bonded warehouse, there is no tariff on those goods. So it's completely tariff-free. You get tariffed when you pull the goods out and then use them. So I have clients that are like, hey, we're going to go to our Chinese suppliers who are like desperate for deals right now because so much business is dried up for them, and they're cutting deals, like some very they're cutting deals, and they're bringing products into these bonded warehouses and these free trade zone warehouses, and they're betting that things will be negotiated, tariffs come down, so when they pull it out of those warehouses, they'll pay less tariff than what they would have originally paid. So it's a deferral way. You're not going to eliminate tariffs, but it's a way to defer it.
Yeah.
The other thing about bonded warehouses and free trade zones is when you have stuff there, if you do some assembly or manufacturing in a warehouse, you can reduce your tariff even more. Okay. And if you buy any goods, put it in the warehouse, and then turn around and just resell it to like a foreign customer, you pay no tariffs at all. So it's just a tactic and a strategy. And now I'm like, oh, there's a whole bunch of interest in doing that.
Yeah.
You pay a warehousing fee, so you have to figure that in if it makes all sense for you. But that's just one of a few things that I'm seeing people do. So that might make sense for some of your listeners or viewers.
Yeah, great. That is very interesting. Okay, thank you for sharing that. Can I ask you about maybe a different topic, or they're probably related, but that's AI. You were saying that you were writing quite a bit about AI. So what is happening in the world of AI, and what are some of the pieces of advice that you give to organizations that are considering to incorporate it?
So here's the reality. There's hype and then there's reality, okay? The reality is that there are companies like Epicor and other good tech companies like Epicor that are developing some amazing AI solutions. The reality is that in a few years, AI will be having an enormous impact on our businesses. I have no question about that. In reality, it's not even just generative AI, but agents will be the big story. Companies like Microsoft right now are rolling out agents. Epicor is doing similar things with agents as well. Agentic AI, meaning that an agent actually performs tasks. So you're not just like, asking a question and it's generating generative AI an answer, but you're asking it of something and then it's doing something on your behalf, And we will first see those agents roll out in the consumer world on our iPhones saying, book me a table at this restaurant, and it just goes. Buy me a new pair of shoes from Amazon, it just goes and it just does that. We're going to see a lot of that, okay? In the business world, we will see agents that will be performing tasks that right now a lot of people are doing, unproductive tasks. So it will be freeing up our really good people to be doing way more value-added and productive things because agents will be taking care of things behind the scenes. All of that is coming. It's not here yet, and the reality is it is not here yet. So what is here right now is just generative AI. And that generative AI stuff, ChatGPT, Copilot, Claude, even Grok on Twitter's X it's good. You know what I mean? It's fun. So, my smartest clients, and I'm gonna put myself in that group. I'm using ChatGPT all the time. I don't know if you
I do use it. Yep.
Use it all the time. It's getting better and better. It's getting more and more accurate. Still can't trust it entirely because it's still wrong a lot.
You got to check it.
It's unbelievable how often it is wrong. And as a journalist, I will use it to say, find me these quotes, find me this information. It will find it for me and save me time from Googling it all. But then when I ask questions like, where's the source of this? 40% of the time it comes back to me saying oh, sorry, I was wrong. So you can't trust those platforms fully, but they're getting better and better. So if you're a business owner, if you're an owner, you're a manager, you should be leaning heavily into those chatbots and using them a lot. They should be reviewing contracts for you. They can be, writing contracts for you. You can be asking them for advice, asking them for details on certain things. All of these things we can be using for a business purpose. That's great. And we're just waiting for you guys to start rolling out really good, accurate, reliable AI stuff. And I know this is an Epicor podcast, but I just want to say to all the customers of Epicor that are watching, or if you're watching this and you're not an Epicor customer, shame on you. But if you're using some other ERP or whatever, you need to have patience, because companies like Epicor are going to be rolling this stuff out, and it needs to be trained and get better, and it's going to take a little bit of time. But in the meantime, we as business people need to be preparing for this stuff. And like I said at our session this morning, there were 3 things we should be doing as business people. You have 3 things that you need to do. Number 1 is clean up your data. We need to be cleaning up our data. If we're using Epicor and we've got years of order and inventory and purchase orders and whatever, this stuff, I don't know how accurate it is, but I'm going to bet there's a lot of mess. And there's no way we're going to be throwing AI on this with messy data. So we should be taking this time out, parceling it out to our people and cleaning that stuff up. So we're ready to rock and roll when you guys roll out your stuff. Number 2 is it is our job to be beating you up. So you're like in charge of products at Epicor. You're the one that people should be talking to, or your team, or the people that you assign that are learning it. And I think every one of your customers should be getting very familiar with what you guys are doing.
We encourage that.
100%. And you want that because you want your customers, they're paying fees. And you want them to be happy with your product. And I'm sure it's pretty frustrating when you guys spend lots of money and time developing features and then people aren't using them or they're not using them right.
We're always looking for feedback.
It's frustrating. And so, and you want that, if they're using it the right way, they will find that much more value in your product, and they will continue to be happily paying you what you deserve. So, but it's our job as business people to be asking those questions. Like, you're not going to be calling every single client, pushing. We should be doing that. That's our job. So we want to clean up our data. We want to be beating up our software vendors to prepare for AI. And then number 3 is we need to have AI policies. I had 3 people come up to me after this session this morning saying that they were working on AI policy.
Oh, nice.
Hey, anybody want to guess? Where's the best place to go to create an AI policy? Yeah, ChatGPT. Yeah, that's exactly right. Okay, you start with that. Yeah, I mean, you got to create a policy that's like, who can use it? What can it be used for? What can it not be used for? And then you need to turn back around and document that. I asked this morning, but I can, best place to go to create an AI policy, go to AI, ask ChatGPT, create me an AI policy for my company, and it will do the job.
I'm sure.
And then you run it by your experts, your attorneys or whatever, and they will review it, whatever. And then you want to update it every couple of years. Every couple times a year. So those are your 3 things. You want to clean up your data, lean in, beat up your software vendors, make sure you're really clear on what they're doing, and have an AI policy. And then you will be preparing yourself for what is going to be coming that will have a huge disruption to you. And you know it. You know this is going to be
absolutely. At Epicor, we do believe in a human in the loop, people-centric, human-centric approach to AI, because to your point, we don't want it to be autonomous. We don't want it to go off, because what if it isn't correct? And it's important that the people are in that driver's seat, reviewing, evaluating, and approving before anything is done in the system.
People have to understand about AI as well is that it's going to replace some low-level tasks and work that people are doing, But first of all, I mean, like, you guys are in the manufacturing business. I mean, we're going to have like 5 million, a shortage of 5 million workers in manufacturing in the next 5 years. I mean, employees should not be worried about losing their jobs. What they should be doing, though, is if they lean into AI, instead of doing all the crap that they're doing that's annoying them during the day, their jobs, their lives could be so much better and happier if they were to delegate this. That they shouldn't be afraid of they will be so much more value to their employees because they'd be getting, to their employers because they'd be getting so much more done. So, but sometimes employees don't see that. I think they read the terror stories in the news and it freaks them out. And it should not be freaking them out. But then again, as employers, it's our job, to do it. Did you know, I didn't mention it this morning, and you can look this up. OpenAI did a study, and apparently 80%, their mobile app is used by, the users are 80% men.
Really?
Yeah.
What?
80% of the users of the mobile app are men. And I found that fascinating. And then I wrote a piece about this for Forbes, and my editor turned it down saying, like, we don't want to get in there or whatever. But then I managed to write it for someplace else. and my whole point of writing it is saying, like, if they do a study like this and they say that women are more conservative, maybe less, more risk averse, more dubious of some of this stuff, I think that's like a tell to a manager to say, like, if I have like female employees that are working, I need to pay special attention to this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's really interesting insight.
Yeah. So those are the kind of demographics, kind of things you have to think about with the employees in your company to get them more comfortable with this technology. Because, like, if you have like females who are just, or not using it because they're afraid of it or they're, questioning it or whatever, that's not good for your business. It's not good for them either.
So true. Yeah. What is the role of technology in like taking on tariffs and supply chain disruptions and incorporating AI? Like, how can an organization be ready? And what is the role of technology?
So there's two things that technology, would do for a company. It'll help you make better decisions now, and then ultimately it will help you automate the actions that you want to take. The better decisions now, I mean, we see what cognitive ERP is going to be doing. We can see that using AI, your technology will be, there is way more predictive analysis that could be done, way better ability to analyze data and make suggestions and recommendations so that a user can take action. Yeah. And then in the future, once we start trusting what you guys are doing, and we will, we're going to be, we will have the technology, the software actually perform certain tasks that a human is doing. And that will just make us that much better when we're making supply chains decisions. When it comes to tariffs, I mentioned this morning in our session, we talk about technology. So let me tell you what my smartest clients are doing when it comes to data and cognitive ERP. We never had this stuff. Our parents never had this stuff. Our grandparents never had this stuff. If you're using Epicor or a good ERP system, you've got data at your hands that, like, go back at the human civilization. I don't even know how the people in like the East India Tea Company run that company in the 18. How do they possibly do that? How do they pay their bills? Whatever. We have it all now, here in Epicor in a database so that we can actually go into this database and say, for example, with tariffs, we're getting a 10% increase in our costs. Don't just turn around and like give a 10% increase to all your customers. My smartest clients are running customer profit analysis out of Epicor. They are looking at the data and they are saying to themselves, okay, this is a profitable, good customer that has not, given us any trouble and pays their bills on time. We're not going to pass down an increase to them. They're good. Yeah. They've earned it. This guy, there's nothing but a pain in the neck with this guy. Not even that profitable with this. We're going to give him a price increase. And I'm literally seeing my clients do this on a customer by customer basis because they have the ability of technology to look into that data and give them that, that information. Yes. So it's very, very important to lean on the tech that you have to use it for analysis. And once you're good with that data, prepare, because a couple of years from now, you'll be using that same data to test. Will actually be before.
Yeah, great point. That data is going to be really important because once you're feeding that into the system, you're going to start making.
Yes. And the best way to get it really reliable is just to use it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just to use it. And you're going to find mistakes or inaccuracies or things that's missing. Yeah. Fix it. Keep it going. I think people have a year or two, at least, to before or companies like Epicor are rolling out really, really good automation. My prediction is that you're going to have some of your customers are going to be on the cutting edge and the bleeding edge over the next year or so. But then there's you're going to hit this tipping point where everybody is going to be migrating to the AI tools that you guys are using. And I hope you're preparing for that because that's just going to happen. Absolutely. It happened with the cloud, didn't it?
That's a great point. Yeah. Yes. It was very similar in that transition.
Yeah. I mean, and I think, and I said this to others before, I said this to Steve Murphy, I mean, the small and mid-sized companies will be the hardest ones to migrate up. Yes. But even if you're running a smaller company, less than 20 million in sales, you're going to need to do this at some point. And you need to start preparing for it now. Because if you don't do it, your competitor's going to be doing it and you're going to be in trouble.
Absolutely. So can I ask you for any advice? I mean, you've definitely passed on a lot of great guidance. Any other pieces of advice when you're working with business leaders as to maybe where to get started or how to take your business to the next level?
Yeah. I mean, my biggest advice, and again, I mentioned it earlier, but it's all about talent. Yeah. I mean, the whole world that people are talking about is like AI replacing people and all that kind of stuff. And I just see the world like completely different. everybody is searching for good talent, and this, no matter, I know you're in charge of products, so you're gonna, don't think this the wrong way. No matter what these software companies say, like you just push a button and it all just happens. No, it's not.
Right.
It is. It's going to take training. It's going to take some implementation. It's going to take, maybe some redesign, whatever. It's going to take some smart people at your company to really make this stuff happen. And the smartest clients that I have, the people that I've learned the most from, are constantly on the lookout for talent.
Nice.
And that's like my biggest takeaway, is that it's still all about people. And by the way, when it comes to talent, I'll tell you another lesson that I learned is that people get all wrapped up in technical ability and experience. I have a client, I met this guy who's at like a windows and doors conference. The guy like makes windows and doors. He finds all of his people at like service places, like at restaurants and retail stores.
Really?
Yeah. He's like, that's where he gets all of his talent from, across the whole company. He's like, you know what? I can teach people accounting. I can teach people to sell windows and doors or to make them or whatever. But like, I can't teach people to get to work on time, to have energy, to have smarts, to have enthusiasm. You ever have that, like, that server that comes and takes your order with 8 other people and just...
They memorize. Yes. It's amazing.
Yeah, the smile on their face.
Right.
And like, really, you're like, oh my God. He goes, I hire those people away.
That's really smart.
Yeah, and I teach them. I'm like, listen, if you're able to do that, I can teach you Epicor.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And if I got somebody like that in my company, then as Epicor comes with more developments, more features, more whatever, I can turn to that person to say, we need to roll these things out. Do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's I just think that's the secret, is the people that you have in your business.
Excellent. Well, so thank you so much. It's been a wonderful conversation. So for anybody who wants to get to learn more about you or stay connected, where would you direct them?
So LinkedIn, you can find me on X. I'm at Gene Marks. And then all the writing that I do, I do my own podcasts, TV stuff that I do as well.
Yeah.
I put it all on my own Medium account. So it's genemarks.medium.com.
Wonderful.
So you can see it all in one place. If you follow me there, you get all this kind of stuff I write about.
Great. Well, thank you. We'll get those links posted, and really appreciated this. Thank you.
Super fun. It was great spending time with you.
All right. Well, that was Gene Marks. Thank you so much for listening. For everyone listening in, thank you for being a part of the future of manufacturing.